I am now going to read Kanye West's entire Wikipedia article. Kanye Omari West, born June 8, 1977, is an American rapper, record producer, and fashion designer. He has been influential in the 21st century development of mainstream hip-hop and popular music in general. Born Kanye Omari West, June 8, 1977, age 43, Atlanta, Georgia, U.S. Other names: Yeezy, Ye, St. Pablo. Occupation: rapper, songwriter, record producer, fashion designer, politician. Years active: 1996 to present. Organization: Donda. Political party: Independent. Birthday party: Republican. Spouses: Kim Kardashian, married, 2014. Children: 4. Relatives: Tony Williams, cousin. Awards, full list. Musical career: origin, Chicago, Illinois, U.S. Genres: hip-hop. Instruments: vocals, sampler, keyboards, drum machine. Labels: Good, Rockefeller, Def Jam. Associated acts: Child Rebel Soldier, Kids See Ghost, Sunday Service Choir, Big Sean, Common, Consequence, Jay-Z, John Legend, Mike D, No ID, Pusha T, Rihanna, Ty Dolla $ign. Website: KanyeWest.com. Born in Atlanta and raised in Chicago, West was first known as producer for Rockefeller Records in the early 2000s, producing singles for several mainstream artists intent on pursuing a solo career as a rapper. West released his debut album, The College Dropout, in 2004 to critical and commercial success and founded the record label Good Music. He experimented with a variety of musical genres on subsequent acclaimed studio albums Late Registration, 2005, Graduation, 2007, and 808s and Heartbreaks, 2008, drawing inspiration from maximalism, minimalism, respectively. West's fifth album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, 2010, and sixth album, Yeezus, 2013, were also critical successes. He went on to release The Life of Pablo, 2016, Ye, 2018, and Jesus is King, 2019. West's discography also includes the full-length collaborations Watch the Throne, 2011, Kids See Ghosts, 2018, with Jay-Z and Kid Cudi, respectively. West's outspoken views and life outside of music have received significant media attention. He has been a frequent source of controversy for his conduct at award shows, on social media, and in other public settings, as well as for his comments on the music and fashion industries, U.S. politics, and race. In 2020, he ran an unsuccessful independent presidential campaign that advocated for a consistent life ethic. His Christian faith, as well as his marriage to television personality Kim Kardashian, have also been a source of media attention. As a fashion designer, he has collaborated with Nike, Louis Vuitton, and APC on both clothing and footwear, and have most prominently resulted in the Yeezy collaboration with Adidas beginning in 2013. He is the founder and head of the creative content company Donda. West is also one of the world's best-selling music artists, with more than 20 million albums and 140 million singles sold worldwide. He has won a total of 21 Grammy Awards, making him one of the most awarded artists of all time. Among his other awards include the Billboard Artist Achievement Award, a joint record 3 Brit Awards for Best International Male Solo Artist, and the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard Award. 6 of his albums have been included on Rolling Stone's 2020 500 Greatest of All Time list. The same publication named him one of the 100 greatest songwriters of all time. West is also title holder for the most albums for, topping the annual Pazin Top Critic Poll. Time magazine named him one of the 100 most influential people in the world in 2005 and 2015. Early life. Most biographies and reference works state that West was born on June 8, 1977, in Atlanta, Georgia, although some sources give his birthplace as Douglasville, a small city west of Atlanta. After his parents divorced when he was 3 years old, he moved with his mother to Chicago, Illinois. His father, Ray West, is a former Black Panther and was one of the first black photojournalists at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Ray West was later a Christian counselor, and in 2006 opened the Goodwater Store and Cafe in Lexington Park, Maryland, with startup capital from his son. West's mother, Dr. Donda C. Williams West, was a professor at English at Clark Atlanta University and chair of the English department at Chicago State University before retiring to serve as his manager. West was raised in a middle-class background, attending Polaris High School in suburban Oak Lawn, Illinois, after living in Chicago. At the age of 10, West moved with his mother to Nanjing, China, where she was teaching at the Nanjing University as part of an exchange program. According to his mother, West was only a foreigner in his class, the only foreigner in his class, but settled in well and quickly picked up the language, although he has since forgotten most of it. When asked about his grades in high school, West replied, "I got A's and B's." and I'm not even frontin'. West demonstrated an affinity for the arts at an early age. He began writing poetry when he was 5 years old. His mother recalled that she first took notice of West's passion for drawing and music when he was in 3rd grade. West started rapping in the 3rd grade and began making musical compositions in 7th grade, eventually selling them to other artists. At age 13, West wrote a rap song called Green Eggs and Ham, the title of a best-selling children's book by Dr. Seuss, and persuaded his mother to pay for time in a recording studio. Accompanying him to the studio, and despite discovering it being a little basement studio where a microphone hung from the ceiling by a wire clothes hanger, West's mother nonetheless supported and encouraged him. West crossed paths with producer/DJ No ID, with whom he quickly formed close friendship. No ID soon became West's mentor, and it was from him West learned how to sample and program beats after he received his first sampler at age 15. After graduating from high school, West received a scholarship to attend Chicago's American University of Art in 1997 and began taking painting classes. Shortly after, he transferred to Chicago State University to study English. He soon realized that his busy class schedule was detrimental to his musical work, and at 20, he dropped out of college to pursue his musical dreams. This greatly displeased his mother, who was also a professor at the university. She later commented, "I drummed into my head that college is the ticket to a good life, but some careers don't require college. For Kanye to make an album called College Dropout was more about having the guts to embrace who you are rather than following the path society has carved for you." Musical career, 1996 to 2002, early work in Rockefeller Records. Kanye West began his early production career in the mid-1990s, creating beats primarily for burgeoning local artists, eventually developing a style involved speeding up vocal samples from classic soul records. His first official production credits came at the age of 19 when he produced 8 tracks on Down to Earth, the 1996 debut album of Chicago rapper named Grav. For a time, West acted as the ghost producer for Derek D. Angeletti. Because of his association with D. West wasn't able to release a solo album, so he formed and became a member and producer of the Go-Getters, a late 1990s Chicago rap group comprised of him, GLC, Timmy G, Really Doe, and Aerostar. His group was managed by John Monopoly, Don Crowley, and Happy Lewis under the management firm Hustle Period. After attending a series of promotional photo shoots and making some radio appearances, the Go-Getters released their first and only studio album, World Record Holders, in 1999. The album featured other Chicago-based rappers such as Rhymefest, Mickey Halstead, Miss Chris, and Shayla G. Meanwhile, the production was handled by West, Aerostar's Boogs, and Brian Alday Miller. In 1998, West was the first person signed by G. Robertson and Kiyomo Hip Hop Joshwato to management production company Hip Hop since 1978. West spent much of the late 1990s producing records for a number of well-known artists and music groups. The third song on Foxy Brown's second studio album, China Doll, was produced by West. Her second effort subsequently became the first hip-hop album by a female rapper, to debut at the top of the U.S. Billboard 200 chart in its first week of release. West produced 3 of the tracks on Harlem World's first and only album, The Movement, alongside Jermaine Dupri and the production duo Trackmasters. His songs featured rappers Nas, Drag On, and the R&B singer Carl Thomas. The 9th track from World Party, the last Goody Mob album to feature the rap group's 4 founding members prior to their breakup, was produced by West with his manager Derek D. Angeletti. At the close of the millennium, West ended up producing 6 songs for Tell 'Em Why You Mad, an album that was released by D. under the alias of The Mad Rapper, a fictional character he created for a skit on the Notorious B.I.G.'s second and final album, Life After Death. West's songs featured guest appearances from rappers such as Mazzy, Raekwon, and Eminem. West got his big break in the year 2000 when he began to produce for artists on Rockefeller Records. West came to achieve recognition and is often credited with revitalizing Jay-Z's career with his contributions to the rap mogul's influential 2001 album, The Blueprint. The Blueprint is consistently ranked among the greatest hip-hop albums, and the critical and financial success of the album generated substantial interest in West as a producer. Serving as an in-house producer for Rockefeller Records, West produced records from other artists from the label, including Beanie Sigel, Freeway, and Cam'ron. He also crafted hit songs for Ludacris, Alicia Keys, and Janet Jackson. Despite his success as a producer, West's true aspiration was to be a rapper. Though he had developed his rapping long before he began producing, it was often a challenge for West to be accepted as a rapper, and he struggled to obtain a record deal. Multiple record companies ignored him because he did not portray the gangsta image prominent in the mainstream hip-hop at the time. After a series of meetings with Capitol Records, West was ultimately denied an artist deal. According to Capitol Records A&R Joe Weinberger, he was approached by West and almost signed a deal with him, but another person in the company convinced Capitol's president not to. Desperate to keep West from defecting to another label, the then label head Damon Dash reluctantly signed West to Rockefeller Records. Jay-Z later admitted that Rockefeller was initially reluctant to support West as a rapper, claiming that many saw him as a producer first and foremost, and that his background contrasted with that of his label mates. West's breakthrough came a year later on October 23, 2002, when driving home from a California recording studio after working late. He fell asleep at the wheel, causing a head-on crash with another car. The crash left him with a shattered jaw, which had to be wired shut in reconstructive surgery. The crash broke both legs of the other driver. The accident inspired West. 2 weeks after being admitted to the hospital, he recorded a song at Record Plant Studios with his jaw still wired shut. The composition Through the Wire expressed West's experience after the accident and helped him lay foundation for his debut album, as according to West, all better artists have expressed what they were going through. West added that the album was my medicine, as working on the record made him distracted from the pain. Through the Wire was first available on West's Get Well Soon mixtape, released December 2002. At the same time, West announced that he was working on an album called The College Dropout, whose overall theme was to make your own decisions, don't let society tell you this is what you have to do. 2003 to 2006, The College Dropout and Late Registration. West recorded the remainder of the album in Los Angeles while recovering from the car accident. Once he had completed the album, it was leaked months before its release date. However, West decided to use the opportunity to review the album, and The College Dropout was significantly remixed, remastered, and revised before being released. As a result, certain tracks originally destined for the album were subsequently retracted, among them Keep the Receipt, with Old Dirty Bastard, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with Consequence. West meticulously refined the production, adding string arrangements, gospel choirs, improved drum programming, and new verses. West's perfectionism led The College Dropout to have its release postponed 3 times from its initial date in August 2003. The College Dropout was eventually issued by Rockefeller in February 2004, shooting to number 2 on the Billboard 200 as its debut single Through the Wire peaked at number 15 on Billboard Hot 100 chart for 5 weeks. Slow Jams, his second single featuring Twista and Jamie Foxx, became an even bigger success. It became the three musicians' first number 1 hit. The College Dropout received near-universal critical acclaim from contemporary music critics and was voted top album of the year by 2 major music publications and has consistently been ranked among the great hip-hop works and debut albums by artists. Jesus Walks, the album's 4th single, perhaps exposed to West as a wider audience, the song's subject matter concerns faith in Christianity. The song nevertheless reached the top 20 of Billboard pop artists, despite industry executives' predictions that a song containing such blatant declarations of faith would never make it to the radio. The College Dropout would eventually be considered certified triple platinum in the U.S. and garnered West 10 Grammy nominations, including Album of the Year and Best Rap Album, which it received. During this period, West also founded Good Music, a record label and management company that would go on to house affiliate artists and producers such as No ID and John Legend. At the time, the focal point of West's production style was the use of sped-up vocal samples from soul records. However, partly because of the acclaim from The College Dropout, such sampling had been much copied by others with that overuse, and also because West felt like he had become too dependent on the technique, he decided to find a new time. During this time, he also produced singles for Brandy, Common, John Legend, and Slum Village. Beginning his second effort that fall, West would invest $2 million and take over a year to craft a second album. West was significantly inspired by Roseland NYC Live, a 1998 album by English trip-hop group Portishead, produced with the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. Early in his career, the live album had inspired him to incorporate string instruments into his hip-hop production. Though West had not been able to afford many live instruments around the time of his debut album, the money from his commercial success enabled him to hire a string orchestra for his second album, Late Registration. West collaborated with American film score composer John Bryan, who served as the album's co-executive producer for several tracks. Although Bryan had no experience in creating hip-hop records, he and West found that they could productively work together in their first afternoon in the studio, where they discovered that neither confined his musical knowledge and vision to one specific genre. Late Registration sold over 2.3 million copies in the United States alone by the end of 2005, and was considered by industry observers as the only successful major album release of the fall season, which had been plagued by steadily declining CD sales. While West had encountered controversy a year prior when he stormed out of the American Music Awards of 2004 after losing Best New Artist award to Gretchen Wilson, his first large-scale controversy came just days after Late Registration's release, during a benefit concert for Hurricane Katrina victims. In September 2005, NBC broadcast a concert for hurricane relief, and West was a featured speaker. When West was presenting alongside actor Mike Myers, he deviated from the prepared script. Myers spoke next and continued to read the script. Once it was West's turn to speak again, he said, "George Bush doesn't care about black people." West's comment reached much of the United States, leading to mixed reactions. President Bush would later call it one of the most disgusting moments of his presidency. West raised further controversy in July 2006 when he posed on the cover of Rolling Stone wearing a crown of thorns. 2007 to 2009, Graduation, 808s and Heartbreak, and VMA's controversy. Fresh off spending the previous year touring the world with U2 on their Vertigo tour, West felt inspired to compose anthemic rap songs that would operate more efficiently in large arenas. To this end, West incorporated the synthesizer into his hip-hop production, utilized slower tempos, and experimented with electronic music influenced by the music of the 1980s. In addition to U2, West drew musical inspiration from arena rock bands such as the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin in terms of melody and chord progression. To make his next effort, the third in a planned tetralogy of education-themed studio albums. More introspective and personal in lyricism, West listened to folk and country singer-songwriters Bob Dylan and Johnny Cash in hopes of developing methods to augment his wordplay and storytelling ability. West's third studio album, Graduation, garnered major publicity when its release date pitted West in a sales competition against rapper 50 Cent's Curtis. Upon their September 2007 releases, Graduation outsold Curtis by a large margin, debuting at number 1 on the U.S. Billboard 200 chart and selling 957,000 copies in its first week. Graduation continued the string of critical and commercial successes by West, and the album's lead singer Stronger garnered his third number 1 hit. Stronger, which samples French house duo Daft Punk, has been accredited to not only encouraging other hip-hop artists to incorporate house and electronica elements into the music, but also for playing a part in the revival of disco and electro-infused music in the late 2000s. Ben Dietrich of XXL cited the outcome of the sales competition between 50 Cent's Curtis and West's Graduation as being responsible for altering the direction of hip-hop and paving the way for new rappers who didn't follow the hardcore gangster mold, writing, "If there was ever a watershed moment to indicate hip-hop's changing direction, it may have come when 50 Cent competed with Kanye in 2007 to see whose album would claim superior sales." West's life took a different direction when his mother, Donda West, died of complications from cosmetic surgery involving abdominoplasty and breast reduction in November 2007. Months later, West and fiancé Alex Pfeiffer ended their engagement and their long-term intermittent relationship, which had begun in 2002. The events profoundly affected West, who set off for his 2008 Glow in the Dark tour shortly thereafter. Purportedly because his emotions could not be conveyed through rapping, West decided to sing through the voice audio processor Auto-Tune, which would become a central part of his next effort. West had previously experimented with the technology on his debut album, The College Dropout, for the background vocals of Jesus Walks and Never Let Me Down. Recorded mostly in Honolulu, Hawaii for 3 weeks, West announced his fourth album, 808s and Heartbreak, at the 2008 MTV Music Video Awards, where he performed the lead single Love Lockdown. Music audience were taken aback by the uncharacteristic production style and presence of Auto-Tune, which typified the pre-release response to the record. 808s and Heartbreak, which features extensive use of the eponymous Roland TR-808 drum machine and contains themes of love, loneliness, and heartache, was released by Island Jeff Jam to capitalize on the Thanksgiving weekend in November 2008. Reviews were positive, though slightly more mixed than his previous efforts. Despite this, the record's singles demonstrated outstanding chart performances. Upon its release, the lead single Love Lockdown debuted at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became a hot shot debut, while a follow-up single, Heartless, performed similarly and became his second consecutive hotshot debut by debuting at number 4 on the Billboard 100. While it was criticized prior to release, 808s and Heartbreak had a significant effect on hip-hop music, encouraging other rappers to take more creative risks with their productions. West's controversial incident at the following year at the 2009 MTV Music Video Awards was arguably his biggest controversy and led to widespread outrage through the music industry. During the ceremony, West crashed the stage and grabbed the microphone from Taylor Swift during her acceptance speech for Best Female Video in order to proclaim that Beyoncé's video for Single Ladies Put a Ring on It, nominated for the same award, was one of the best videos of all time. He was subsequently withdrawn for the remainder of the show for his actions. West's Fame Kills tour with Lady Gaga was cancelled in response to the controversy. In 2009, West was named by Billboard as the top male artist of 2009. 2010 to 2012, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and collaborations. Following the highly publicized incident, West took a brief break from music and threw himself into fashion, only to hole up in Hawaii for the next few months writing and recording his next album. Importing his favorite producers and artists to work on and inspire his recording, West kept engineers behind the boards 24 hours a day and only slept in increments. Noah Callahan Bever, a writer for Complex, was present during these sessions and described the communal atmosphere as thus: "With the right songs and the right album, he can overcome any and all controversy, and we are here to contribute, challenge, and inspire." A variety of artists contributed to the project, including close friends Jay-Z, Kid Cudi, and Pusha T, as well as off-the-wall collaborations such as Justin Vernon of Bon Iver. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, West's fifth studio album, was released in November 2010 to widespread critical acclaim from critics, many of whom considered it to be his best work and said it solidified his comeback. In stark contrast to his previous effort, which featured a minimalist sound, Dark Fantasy adopts a maximalist philosophy and deals with themes of celebrity and excess. The record included the international hit All of the Lights and Billboard hits Power, Monster, and Runaway, the latter of which accompanied a 35-minute film of the same name directed by and starring West. During this time, West initiated the free music program Good Fridays through his website, offering a free download of previously unreleased songs each Friday, a portion of which were included on the album. The promotion ran from August 20th to December 17th, 2010. Dark Fantasy went on to go platinum in the United States, but its omission as a contender for the Album of the Year at the 54th Grammy Awards was viewed as a snub by several media outlets. 2011 saw West embark on a festival tour to commemorate the release of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, performing and headlining numerous festivals including SWU Music and Arts, Austin City Limits, Oya Festival, Flow Festival, Live Music Festival, The Big Chill, Essence Music, Lollapalooza, and Coachella, which was described by The Hollywood Reporters as one of the greatest hip-hop sets of all time. West released a collaborative album, Watch the Throne, with Jay-Z in August 2011. By employing a sales strategy that released the album digitally weeks before the physical counterpart, Watch the Throne became one of the few major label albums in the internet age to avoid a leak. N-Words in Paris became the record's highest charting single, peaking at number 5 on the Billboard 100. The co-headlining Watch the Throne tour kicked off in October 2011 and concluded in June 2012. In 2012, West released the compilation album Cruel Summer, a collection of tracks by artists from West's record label Good Music. Cruel Summer produced 4 singles, two of which charted in the top 20 of the Hot 100, Mercy and Click. West also directed a film of the same name that produced at the 2012 Cannes Film Festival in a custom pyramid-shaped screening pavilion featuring 7 screens. 2013 to 2015, Yeezus and Adidas collaboration. Sessions for West's sixth solo effort began to take shape in early 2013 as his own personal loft's living room at a Paris hotel. Determined to undermine the commercial, he once again brought together close collaborators and attempted to incorporate Chicago drill, dancehall, acid house, and industrial music. Primarily inspired by architecture, West's perfectionist tendencies led him to contract producer Rick Rubin 15 days shy of its due date to strip down the record sound in favor of a more minimalist approach. Initial promotion of his sixth album included worldwide video projections of the album's music and live television performances. Yeezus, West's sixth album, was released on June 18th, 2013, to rave reviews from critics. It became his sixth consecutive number one debut, but also marked his lowest solo opening week sales. Def Jam issued Black Skinhead to radio in July 2013 as the album's lead single. In September 2013, Kanye West announced he would be headlining his first solo tour in 5 years to support Yeezus, with fellow American rapper Kendrick Lamar accompanying him as a supporting act. The tour was met with rave reviews from critics. Rolling Stone described it as crazily entertaining, hugely ambitious, emotionally affecting, really, and most importantly, totally bonkers. Writing for Forbes, Zach O'Malley Greenberg praised West for taking risks that few pop stars, if any, are willing to take in today's hyperexposed world of pop. Describing the show as overwrought and uncomfortable at times, but excels at challenging norms and provoking thought that, in a way, just isn't uncommon for mainstream musical acts of late. In June 2013, West and television personality Kim Kardashian announced the birth of their first child, North, and their engagement in October to widespread media attention. In November, West stated that he was only beginning to work on his next studio album, hoping to release it by mid-2014, with production by Rick Rubin and Q-Tip. In December 2013, Adidas announced the beginning of their official apparel collaboration with West to be premiered the following year. In May 2014, West and Kardashian were married in a private ceremony in Florence, Italy, with a variety of artists and celebrities in attendance. West released a single, Only One, featuring Paul McCartney in December. 4-5 Seconds, a single jointly produced with Rihanna and McCartney, was released in January 2015. West also appeared on the Saturday Night Live 40th Anniversary special, where he premiered a new song entitled Wolves, featuring Sia Furler and Chicago rapper Vic Mensa. In February 2015, West premiered his clothing collaboration with Adidas entitled Yeezy Season 1 to generally positive reviews. This would include West's Yeezy Boost sneakers. In March 2015, West released the single All Day, featuring Theophilus London, Alan Kingdom, and Paul McCartney. West performed the song at the 2015 Brit Awards with a number of US rappers and UK grime MCs, including Skepta, Wiley, Novelist, Fecky, Krypton Conan, Stormzy, Alan Kingdom, Theophilus London, and Vic Mensa. He would premiere the second iteration of the clothing line Yeezy Season 2 in September 2015 at New York Fashion Week. Having initially announced a new album called So Help Me God, slated for a 2014 release, in March 2015, West announced that the album would instead tentatively be called Swish. On May 11th, West was awarded an honorary doctorate by the School of Art Institute of Chicago for his contributions to music, fashion, and popular culture, officially making him an honorary DFA. The next month, West headlined at the Glastonbury Festival in the UK, despite a petition signed by almost 135,000 people against his appearance. Towards the end of the set, West proclaimed himself the greatest living rock star on the planet. Media outlets, including social media sites such as Twitter, were divided on his performance. NME stated, "The decision to book West for the slot has proved controversial since its announcement, and the show itself has appeared to polarize both Glastonbury goers and those who tuned in to watch on their TVs." The publication added that he's letting his music speak for it and prove itself. The Guardian said that his set has a potent ferocity, but there are gaps and stutters. He cuts a strangely lone figure in front of this vast crowd. In September 2015, West performed 808s and Heartbreaks in its entirety, 2 nights in a row, to rave reviews at the Hollywood Bowl. The performance featured a 60-person orchestra, a live band, guests from the album, and 70-plus dancers. In 2015, West released a song called Facts. 2016 to 2017, The Life of Pablo End Tour cancellation. West announced in January 2016 that Swish would be released on February 11th, and later that month released new songs Real Friends and a snippet of No More Parties in LA with Kendrick Lamar. This also revived the Good Fridays initiative, in which he released new singles every Friday. On January 26, 2016, West revealed that he had renamed the album from Swish to Waves, and also announced the premiere of his Yeezy Season 3 clothing line with Madison Square Garden. In the weeks leading up to the album's release, West became embroiled in several Twitter controversies and released several changing iterations of the track list for the new album. Several days ahead of its release, West once again changed the album title, this time to The Life of Pablo. On February 11th, West premiered the album at Madison Square Garden as part of the presentation for his Yeezy Season 3 clothing line. Following the preview, West announced that he would be once more modifying the track list before releasing it to the public, and further delayed its release to finalize the recording of the track Waves at the behest of co-writer Chance the Rapper. He released the album exclusively on Tidal on February 14, 2016, following a performance on SNL. Following its official streaming release, West continued to tinker with mixes of several tracks, describing the work as a living, breathing, changing creative expression, and proclaiming the album as a dominant release form. Although a statement by West around the life of Pablo's initial release indicated that the album would be a permanent exclusive to Tidal, the album was released through several other competing services starting in April. In February 2016, West stated on Twitter that he was planning to release another album in the summer of 2016, tentatively called TurboGrafx 16 in reference to the 1990s video game console of the same name. In June 2016, West released the collaborative lead single Champion off the Good Music album Cruel Winter, which has yet to be released. Later that month, West released a controversial video for Famous, which depicted wax figures of several celebrities, including West, Kardashian, Taylor Swift, businessman and then presidential candidate Donald Trump, comedian Bill Cosby, and former President George W. Bush, sleeping nude in a shared bed. In August 2016, West embarked on the St. Pablo tour in support of the life of Pablo. The performances featured a mobile stage suspended from the ceiling. West postponed several dates in October following the Paris robbery of his wife's several of his wife's effects. On November 21, 2016, West canceled the remaining 21 dates on the St. Pablo tour following a week of no-shows, curtailed concerts, and rants about politics. He was later admitted for psychiatric observation at the UCLA Medical Center. He stayed hospitalized over the Thanksgiving weekend because of temporary psychosis stemming from sleep deprivation and extreme dehydration. Following this episode, West took an 11-month break from Twitter and the public in general. 2017 to 2019, Ye and the Wyoming Sessions. It was reported in May 2017 that West was recording new music in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, with a wide range of collaborators. In April 2018, West also announced plans to write a philosophy book entitled Break the Simulation, later clarifying that he was sharing the book in real time on Twitter and began posting content that was likened to life coaching. Later that month, he also announced 2 new albums, a solo album and a self-titled collaboration with Kid Cudi under the name Kids See Ghosts, both of which would be released in June. Additionally, he revealed that he would produce upcoming albums by Good Music label mates Pusha T and Teyana Taylor, as well as Nas. Shortly thereafter, West released the non-album singles Lift Yourself, a strange gibberish track featuring nonsensical lyrics, and Ye vs. the People, in which he and T.I. discussed West's controversial support of Donald Trump. Pusha T's Daytona, the first project out of Wyoming, was released in May to critical acclaim, although the album's artwork, a photograph of deceased singer Whitney Houston's bathroom that West paid $85,000 to license, attracted some controversy. The following week, West released his 8th studio album, Ye. West has suggested that he scrapped the original recordings of the album and re-recorded it within a month. The week after, West released a collaborative album with Kid Cudi titled Kids See Ghosts, naming it after their group of the same name. West also completed production work on Nas's Nasir and Teyana Taylor's KTSE, which were released in June 2018. On October 31st, 2018, West released a non-album single, XTCY, which was eventually slated to be included on Ye. On September 7th, 2018, West released a collaboration with American rapper Lil Pump titled I Love It. On September 9th, 2018, West announced via Twitter that Watch the Throne 2 would be coming soon. Later that month, West also announced his 9th studio album, Yandi, to be released by the end of the month, and a collaborative album with fellow Chicagoan rapper Chance the Rapper titled Good Ass Job. West also announced in September that he would be changing his stage name to Ye. Yandi was originally set for release on September 29, 2018, but was postponed to November 23, 2018. West later postponed the album again in November 2018 with no new release date set. Later in 2018, West began collaborating with other new acts besides Lil Pump. West appeared as a guest feature on the tracks Kanga and Mama with Nicki Minaj on American rapper 6ix9ine's debut album, Dummy Boy. West is also the sole feature on XXXTentacion's first posthumous album, Skins. 6ix9ine and XXXTentacion were both slated to be included on Yandhi. In January 2019, West pulled out of headlining the year's Coachella Festival after negotiations broke down due to discord regarding stage design. On July 18, 2019, it was reported that songs from West's unreleased album Yandhi were leaked online. By October of the same year, the whole leaked unfinished album was also available for a short time on streaming services like Spotify and Tidal, but was shortly taken down. On 2019, Kim Kardashian announced that West's album would be titled Jesus is King, effectively scrapping Yandhi. 2019 to present, Jesus is King and Donda. On January 6, 2019, West started his weekly Sunday service orchestration, which includes soul variations of both West and other songs, attended by multiple celebrities including the Kardashians, Charlie Wilson, and Kid Cudi. West previewed a new song, Water, at his Sunday service orchestration performance at Weekend 2 of Coachella. On October 25, 2019, he released Jesus is King, a Christian hip-hop album. On the U.S. charts, the album became the first ever to top the Billboard 200, top R&B hip-hop albums, top rap albums, top Christian albums, and top gospel albums at the same time. He also collaborated with Vanessa Beechcroft on two operas, Nebuchadnezzar and Mary. On December 25, 2019, West and Sunday Service released Jesus is Born, containing 19 songs, including several reworkings of older West songs. On June 30, 2020, West released the single titled Wash Us in the Blood, featuring fellow American rapper and singer Travis Scott, along with the music video which serves as the lead singer for his upcoming 10th studio album Donda, and draws similarities to the sound of his 2013 album Yeezus. However, in September 2020, West stated that he would not be releasing any further music until he is done with his contract to Sony and Universal, in a Twitter rant about record company contracts, payments toward artists and musicians, and topic of ownership of their masters. On October 16th, he released the single Nah Nah Nah. On October 29th, the remix was previewed over Twitter, featuring American rappers DaBaby and 2 Chainz. The remix was released on November 13th. On December 25th, 2020, exactly 1 year after the release of Jesus is Born, West Sunday Service released a new EP entitled Emmanuel. The mini EP, executively produced by West, consists of 5 songs entirely in Latin, based on the style of the Gregorian chant. Alright. That's only half of it. Musical style, general. West's musical career is defined by frequent stylistic shifts and different musical approaches. In the subsequent years since his debut, West has both musically and lyrically taken an increasingly experimental approach to crafting progressive hip-hop music while maintaining accessible pop sensibilities. He has introduced new musical elements and unconventional reference points to his sonic palette with each album. Over time, West has explored a variety of musical genres encompassing soul, baroque pop, stadium rock, electro, house music, indie rock, synth pop, progressive rock, industrial punk, and gospel. West's approach to record production is consistently rich, nuanced, and thought-provoking. His productions are akin to musical compositions, bearing an ornate style with more depth typical of hip-hop artists, while making use of an ear for hooks. He incorporates live instrumentals, manipulated vocal samples, and dramatic arrangements to supplement his beats. His later musical works increasingly relied on the application of digital audio workstations and computerized synths, bass, and drums. West also surveys and analyzes lyrical trends, the continuously evolving lyrical landscape of hip-hop culture, often changing his approach to rhyming couplets for songwriting and delivery. Lyrically, West's wordplay generally contains a proliferation of puns and inventive multisyllabic rhymes. Both his songwriting and vocal delivery rely on lines laden with transformative and slant rhymes, with West often altering the pronunciation of his words. West admits that his rapping ability is not as dexterous as his peers Jay-Z, Eminem, and Nas, so he compensates with the subject matter. He elaborates the songs often offer melody and message. That is the main goal. I saw it as a simple math project. If I can rap 70 to 80% as good as the beats are, I'll be successful. West drew influence from mainstream rappers such as Maze and his Rockefeller label mates Jay-Z and Cameron, in conjunction with underground hip-hop artists Mos Def, Talib Kweli, and Dead Prez. Kanye stated that Dead Prez in particular helped him discover a style of making raps with a message sound cool. With his debut album, West managed to strike a balance between smart and savvy rap lyrical themes as his songwriting interjects pop melodies into raw hip-hop beats. West's lyrics find him rapping about substantial issues in addition to amusing topics ranging from Jesus and weight loss in a way that resulted in widespread commercial appeal. They successfully struck a chord with both mainstream hip-hop artists as well as the alternative sector. His rhymes have been described as funny, provocative, and articulate, capable of seamlessly segueing from shrewd commentary to comical braggadocio to introspective sensitivity. West imparts that he's conscious of the circumstances of his surroundings and strives to speak in an inclusive manner to groups. So groups from from different racial and gender backgrounds can comprehend his lyrics, saying he desires to sound just as ill as Jadakiss and just as understandable as Will Smith. Asked about his early musical inspirations in 2008, he named artists such as A Tribe Called Quest, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, George Michael, LL Cool, Phil Collins, and Madonna. Regarding the influence of A Tribe Called Quest, producer Q-Tip stated West stated Midnight Marauders, Electric Relaxation, Low End Theory, a lot of the melodies and a lot of the type of chords they would sample was what I was going for when I did the College Dropout, when I felt like I was at my highest level when I was closest to a Tribe record. So a record like Heard 'Em Say was an accomplishment for me, to have even something close to what they did. Other musicians West has invoked its general inspirations include David Bowie, Miles Davis, and Jill Scott Heron. I don't know, man. West was formatively mentored by Chicago producer No ID, who introduced him to record production in the early 1990s, allowing a teenage West to sit in on recording sessions. West has also cited Wu-Tang Clan producer and leader RZA as influence on his style. He stated, "Me and my friends talk about this all the time. We think Wu-Tang had one of the biggest impacts as far as the movement. From slang to style of dress, skits, the samples. Similar to the production style I use, RZA has been doing that." On his behalf, RZA responded favorably to the comparisons between him and West. He said, "All good. Kanye West, I got super respect for Kanye. He came up to me about a year or two ago. He gave me mad praising and blessings. He had a lot to say about the things I did. It's like when I met Isaac Hayes." West's early sound was largely influenced by 1990s hip-hop music, particularly that of the East Coast. Despite hailing from Chicago, West expressed a preference for New York artists, tailing both to his lyricism and fashion sense after rappers such as Raekwon and Nas. He recalled, "I used to love people like Wu-Tang Clan, Biggie, Nas, people that sold records. I like Common, since he was from Chicago, but I wanted to dress like Nas." Regarding production, according to No ID, who mentioned him from age 14, West made puffy-style pop-ish beats. Sharing similar sentiments, West's close friend and collaborator, singer-songwriter, and musician John Legend once described him as a sing-songy rapper-producer with the overtly pop sensibility. West also claims that he used to make beats reminiscent of Timbaland and DJ Premier. Alongside DJ Premier, the soulful nature of his early production bars bears an influence of Prince Paul, and the slightly off-kilter drum machine beats he crafted for tracks reflect Jay Dilla. While speaking on the late producer, West praised Dilla's ability concerning drums. He asserted that man was a genius. He could do whatever he could do to tweak that MPC the way he worked. He worked it in a different type of way. West subsequently developed a hip-hop production style driven by melodic and rhythmic hooks derived from samples of classic soul records. He would take cues from the traditional sounds of early 1990s New York City hip-hop with an emphasis on infectious loop samples and dense drums or percussion, and channel the aesthetic through contemporary record production while polishing it to a pop sheen. 1990s to 2000s. Early in his career, West pioneered a style of hip-hop production dubbed chipmunk soul. His method of sampling technique is reminiscent of record production from the 1990s, involving the manipulation of tempo in order to chop and stretch pitched-up samples from vintage soul songs. According to mixing engineer Craig Bauer and the co-owner of Hinge Studios, a downtown Chicago recording and mixing facility where West had been a client, he knew what he wanted, and he was always striving to make his beats sound like no one else's. He would always lift samples. He would lift samples and manipulate them, twist them around, turn them up an octave until he got something fresh out of it that was made 20 or 30 years ago. He never wanted to be like someone else. This was typically done on an Akai MPC or an Ensoniq ASR-10, combined with his own instrumentation. West further developed his style on his debut studio album, College Dropout, 2004. On the album, West formed the constitutive element of his style: intricate hip-hop beats, topical subject matter, and clumsy rapping laced with inventive wordplay. After a rough version was leaked, West meticulously refined the production, adding string instrumentations, gospel choirs, and improved drum programming. Alongside soul samples, the record was characterized by its relatable lyrics. West drew from his own experience after leaving colleges to pursue music and recovering from a near-fatal car accident. The record saw West diverge from the then dominant gangster persona in hip-hop in favor of a more diverse, topical, lyrical subjects. His songs found him rapping about higher education, materialism, self-consciousness, minimum wage labor, institutional prejudice, class struggle, family, sexuality, and his own self-doubts and personal struggles in the music industry in a manner of particular to his middle-class upbringing. West progressed forward towards more musically adventurous maximalist production on his subsequent albums, beginning with the sophomore for registration 2005. For his second album, West collaborated with film score composer John Bryan and drew influence from a diverse influence such as English trip-hop group Portishead. Blending West's primary soulful hip-hop production with Bryan's elaborate chamber pop orchestration, the album experimentally incorporated a wide array of different genres and prominent orchestral elements, including string arrangements, piano chords, brass flex, and horn riffs. Pretty sure I just said corn riffs, amid a myriad of foreign and vintage instruments. Critic Robert Christgau wrote that there has never been a hip-hop so complexly and subtle musically. In addition, West's flow has improved since his debut album. He became more adept at syncing his phrases up with beats instead of merely coasting over them to deliver punchlines. Okay. With his lyrics, West displayed an aptitude for personalizing what would otherwise be political, dwelling on matters close to heart. On his third album, Graduation, 2007, West moved towards atmospheric soundscape influenced by rock music and laced with electronics. West retracted much of the soulful sampling and rich live instrumentation that characterized his previous albums and replaced them with loud gothic synthesizers. He incorporated with layers of distorted synth chords, house beats, and electro-disco rhythms with a wide array of modulated and electronic noises and digital audio effects into his hip-hop production. West was primarily influenced by arena rock bands such as the Rolling Stones, U2, and Led Zeppelin. Drawing experiences from his experience on stadium tours, West progressed to a more anthemic style of composing rap songs that would function well performing in large arenas. He also drew musical inspiration from European Britpop and Eurodisco, American alternative and indie rock, and his own native Chicago house. Lyrically, Graduation is more introspective in comparison to its predecessors. West dedicated much more of his songwriting towards providing inspirational messages directed at individuals exploring personal issues surrounded by his own fame and media scrutiny. West's fourth album, 808s and Heartbreak, marked a radical departure from his previous releases. He largely abandoned rapping over hip-hop beats in favor of emotive melodic singing within a stark, synth-driven electropop soundscape. West stripped away his samples and relied almost entirely on droning synthesizers as instruments while singing with the use of autotune. Throughout the album, he juxtaposes the electronic feel generated by autotune and the distorted Roland TR-808 drum machine with lengthy strings, somber piano, and tribal rhythms. Impacted by the death of his mother, Donda West, as well as the broken engagement for his fiancée, designer Alex Pfeiffer, he wrote more sensitive pop songs about love and relationships. West was inspired to sing thanks to words and encouragements from famed pop artist Michael Jackson. Prior to its release, West also cited inspiration from 1980s synth-pop artists such as Phil Collins, Gary Newman, and Boy George, and confessed an affinity for the work of post-punk and new wave groups such as Joy Division, The Police, and T.J. Swan. He would later describe 808s and Heartbreaks as the first black new wave album. Discussing the album's subsequent influence on popular music journalist Matthew Trammell for Rolling Stone described 808s as Kanye's most vulnerable work and perhaps his most brilliant. 2010s. West recorded his fifth album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, 2010, with a wide range of collaborators. The album engages with themes of excess, celebrity, and decadence, and has been noted by writers for its maximalist aesthetic and incorporation of elements from West's previous 4 albums. Entertainment Weekly Simon Vozik-Levinson noted that such elements all recur at various points, namely the luxurious soul of 2004's College Dropout, the symphonic pomp of Late Registration, and the gloss of 2007 Graduation, and the emotionally exhausted electro of 2008's 808s and Heartbreak. In a positive review, Andy Gill of The Independent called it one of its pop's gaudiest and most grandiose efforts in recent years, a no-holds-barred musical extravaganza in which any notion of good taste is abandoned at the door. Describing his 6th studio album Yeast as 2013 as a protest to music, West embraced an abrasive style that incorporated a variety of unconventional influences. Music Greg Kot described it as a hostile, abrasive, and intentionally off-putting album that combines the worlds of 1980s acid house with contemporary Chicago drill music, 1990s industrial music, and an avant rock of Saul Williams, Death Grips, and Odd Future. The album also incorporates elements of trap music as well as dancehall, punk, and electro. Inspired by the minimalist design of La Corbusier, and primarily electronic in nature, Yeezus also continues West's practice of eclectic and unusual samples. Rolling Stones called the album a brilliant and obsessive-compulsive career autocorrect. West's 7th album, The Life of Pablo, was noted for its raw, occasionally even intentionally messy composition, in distinction to West's previous album. Rolling Stone wrote that it's designed to sound like a work in progress. Carl Wilson of Slate characterized the album as creating strange links between Kanye's many iterations, soul sample enthusiast, heartbroken auto-tune crooner, hedonistic avant-pop composer, and industrial rap shit-talker. West initially characterized the release as a gospel album. Greg Kot of the Chicago Tribune wrote in his review of The Life of Pablo, West's version of gospel touches on some of those sonic cues, heavy organs, soaring choirs, but seems more preoccupied with gospel texts and the notion of redemption. God damn, this is going to take like another 5 hours. Other ventures. Other ventures. Fashion. Early in his career... I can't do this. I'm going to read it for an hour of this in total. I'm just going to read it for an hour. I'm at 52 minutes. I cannot read this whole thing, so I'm just going to read it for an hour. Early in his career, West made clear his interest in fashion and desire to work in the clothing and design industry. In September 2005, West announced that he would release his pastel clothing in spring 2006, claiming, "Now I have a Grammy under my belt and Late Registration is finished. I'm ready to launch my clothing line next spring." The line was developed over the following 4 years, with multiple pieces teased by West himself, before the line was ultimately canceled in 2009. 2009, West collaborated with Nike to release his own shoe, the Air Yeezys. I'm done with this shit, man. I can't take it anymore.